I tell filmmakers, if you're going to make a movie and you need funding and financing, attach a notable name, go to the foreign territories and start licensing your film. Even if you get 40 territories that give you 5,000 each, that's 200 grand, and you can make the movie.
Welcome to Industry Insights, where we bring insight and knowledge to the next generation of filmmakers. We're here in Vista, California, the film-friendly city. Actually, we've got some new news here.
Just received a text from Colleen Bell, the film commissioner of Los Angeles, and they just approved $950 million for a statewide tax incentive for filmmakers. So I think there's going to be a broader, aspect of it, not just the big giant producer to get all the money and do it, but I think that this time they're gonna spread it a little bit more better for the independents that can apply, so they can get their film also partially financed by this tax incentive. So this is all good news. And the reason they did that, because the runaway films. I mean, everybody's filming outside of California because it's for obvious reason, costs and everything. But everybody is shooting the summer. It's so hot shooting outside of California. Like right now, Dominican Republic, Disney, Nickelodeon, in Netflix is shooting one after the other. So because of that, the incentive has not been a good thing for Californians, but hopefully we're going to see something coming back.
Yeah, things are moving in a good direction.
Yes.
And there's some good people here producing films, as a matter of fact. Today our guest is Chris Soriano, who's an independent filmmaker from San Diego. And at the age of 33 has already completed or working on his fourth film. And the incredible part about this story is that not only is he making films, but he's also funding them and distributing them. And so we're interested to hear more about how he's done that. He's been on CNN and ABC and different television networks. He's the co-founder of a company called Matthew 2415, pretty unique name for a production company. The common theme of his films is find a way where there is no way. And that's certainly been the epitaph of his life. And we're going to learn a little bit about that too. So Chris, wonderful to have you here. Thanks for coming up.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your beautiful show. I appreciate it.
He's been featured on television with CNN and NBC and ABC for a film called Zeus. And he wanted to produce the film. Well, I guess we'll let you tell us. Why did you want to produce that film? This was your first one, right?
Yes, this is the first one in the middle of the pandemic. And, I just made a film because I saw this rise in hate crimes happening. People... the Asian elderly community was getting bullied. And then I felt like, what if I can make a film to showcase and raise awareness of these issues? And I said, what if those hate crimes happen to a boxer instead of an elderly person? And that was my inception, writing, Zeus. And then from there, I found a lot of people in my apartment that was like unemployed, didn't have jobs because of the pandemic. And I said, instead of us just here waiting in our apartments, let's make a movie. And then that was my first attempt in making a full feature. And through the grace of God, it all came together, no experience, but I hired people that had experience, prayed a lot. And, there were times where I would not even know me and my fiance. Now she's my wife. We're like, what do we do? But we got through it and we made a movie.
Isn't that neat? I love that. Trusting in the man upstairs. He's going to open doors for you. And that's certainly just an incredible way to get started, right? Yes. And to have that partnership. And, that's, people say, how do you beat the odds? How do you make a successful film? How do you make money with films,
Yeah, well, that's the main challenge this day. But we have something that we didn't used to have before the pandemic. The pandemic changed a lot of the way we perceive film and television. And so because of the demand, VOD and all of that, now new platform is in place. And so the indies have a big open opportunity to bring their product, and more likely, and you can see that in Netflix and Amazon, you see the new generation of filmmaker coming in now. And now you chose it's a little bit in the risk side for your first film, but at the same time, it's very current and very real. And I think that's what makes it, so important what you just did, and it was worth it, take that risk. How has been the perception of some of the people that know about the project, about that? What have you learned from that?
Oh, I learned so much of how difficult it is to actually get a film out there, right? And that you're right, that risk is, never making an action film, dealing with choreography, dealing with accidents that could happen. And, its relevance, like you had mentioned, like it being, current, that's what allowed people to say, okay, it's a cause film, right? Yeah. But also an action film. And so all those little tidbits came together to get us through, to complete the movie.
Now, sometimes when we talk about social justice, it been seen sometimes as a bad word. Oh, here come these extremists and stuff like that. How would you keep that balance so is not perceived as a movement to change the world,
an anger movement, right?
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful question. For me, it's more keeping it politically balanced, right? Not sharing my point of view on where I stand on the political aisle, but more so a hate crime is what this movie was started with. An old man is walking down and he gets bullied. And from there, how do we respond to that? Do we do we fight back? And in this case, our character just defended the old man and said, hey, pick on somebody else. And then from there, that was the what I saw a lack of in the media when these old people were getting bullied. What do we do? How do we defend these people? What are the resources? Who do we contact? Because it's almost often fast. And so in my world of the boxing world, he defends the old person, and from there, it disarms the person, and that's that. Yeah. But it is a double-edged sword, I guess, dealing with these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had a question right off the bat. The name of your company, tell me more about that.
Thank you for that. It's Matthew 25:14. It's the parable in the Bible of the talents. And my wife and I, whenever we would hear that, whenever we would read it in the Bible or hear about it in church, or just people would mention it, we were like, wow, that's crazy about, a servant leaving and giving talents to each one of his, a master leaving and giving a talent to each one of his servants. And I was like, whoa, when I heard that in the Bible, I was like, is a talent like literal talent? Like, and in the parable, there's one man who buried his talents in the ground, which is talent is a metaphor for money or something. But at the time when I heard it, I thought it was like literal talents, like making movies or something, or speaking.
Oh, interesting.
So I was like, I never want to be that guy who buried it in the ground. I want to be the person who multiplied it 10 times. Okay. And so that was like our mission, making, this company. I said, if we're going to make something, let's be the servant who was the well and good servant who multiplied it.
There you go.
So, we can encourage the world to multiply in their talents,
Interesting. I love it. And I think because I was talking to Elias, I said, I wonder why he picked that verse. Was that to inspire investors?
Oh, yeah. Why not?
And in one sense, it really is. Look you're going to benefit.
Right.
So, and the lack of fear that you have is very evident too. When everything is locked down and you're doing movies, I mean, that's how things happen. And I really appreciate that.
And that brings another point then in the discussion is, since you have a biblical reference as a principle for your company, then how that affect everything that you do from then on, from your stories to, are they so-called faith-based, or they're friendly, or they are just good stories?
Wow. Beautiful question. And for me, it's more of a guidance. We know at the heart, we want to tell a story that's very real. And it was more of a mission statement. And that's why we named it. I see so many companies that I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Or it's like, something so ambiguous. And I just wanted the world to know where we stand. And we wanted to say that, right from the get-go, that we believe in abundance and multiplying. And, me being a proud Christian, me and my wife. And that was the statement. But you're right. right. There is do we make biblical films from this point forward? Do we make action films? I think at the heart of the story, if it has a good positive message, that's where we're leaning toward.
Yeah. What do you want people to walk away with from your film? You've got a purpose. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I understand, you wrote this first film, you directed it, you acted in it. That's quite a task. So which part of it did you enjoy the most?
Oh, at first it was an attempt to try to do all of those to save money, right? As an independent filmmaker, writing, directing, even getting crafty to feed people. We have multiple hats. We're not a big studio. But the part that I enjoyed the most was being able to direct it, because you are assembling all these elements together. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing. And I'm the type of director where I entrust like the DP, the actors. I pointed them there for a reason, and I trust what they do. I won't micromanage them, and I'll adjust things. But generally, it's not that hard to direct if you've got great people working together to carry out a vision.
So, and so far, how many movies you work on? And in specific, like when we look at Zeus, what is behind the name Zeus, but as a title?
Yes.
Because that brings immediately in this world, as soon as you mention that name, bell rings. It's It's epic movie, or it's about the old god Zeus, or it's really going after this persona, mystical, what is it?
For Zeus, I just wanted to come up with a powerful name, because I was very inspired by Rocky, and I saw how Sylvester Stallone didn't have much, and he wrote his screenplay in a few days in his apartment in LA, and that really inspired me to write my story. And with the name Rocky, I was going honestly on Google, and I said, what is an epic name that when people see it, they're going to be like, oh, what's this about? And so I just chose it out of random. I wish I had a better reason for choosing Zeus, but that was the only reason why I chose that title. But from there, I knew that, okay, if he has an epic name, maybe he'll have an epic cause. And if he's fighting for someone that's being bullied or something, maybe that means more. And, so maybe a mix of marketing mixed with, doing something.
Which is very smart to do, because this is one thing that people go first by the title, and then the curiosity that generates in the title. What is this film about? And I think you hit it right, because the curiosity comes up right away when you look into it. But, at the end, it's how that turns around, and we just, in a way that people would not feel like, oh, he gave me a title, so I go to see it, and now I feel like he lied to me or something.
Right. Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. So how, using that concept of such a powerful, well-known figure, then you turn into the story and weave it in that people would say, after all, that was a great movie. We recommend Zeus.
Right.
And maybe on the heels of that question, it's an effective message that you have to bring, right?
That's right.
And so, so people feel what you feel.
Yes. For me, using the title and incorporating your effective message, it's all in the screenwriting. And for me, it was a balance. How do I incorporate action mixed with a powerful message? Because I didn't want it to be like a preachy type of film, right? I wanted people to really see someone, see some action, see some justice, see a love story, and then get all that. Till this day, when I research what was Rocky, they always say it was a love story. And I'm like, what? That thing is nothing but action. So, in a sense, I wanted to give that balance with this story too.
Well, we move into Job.
Out of all the records in the Bible, you chose to do a modern version of the book of Job.
Yes.
Why?
I've always heard that story in the Bible. I've read it, and then I remember always being like a bit confused and scared. Feeling a bit like, if there are characters in the Bible who I wouldn't want to be, I wonder how I'd be if I was Job. Would I really prevail? To be, have his family taken away, to be tested by the devil in a way. That's a scary thing. Right. And you see those scary movies, nothing's scarier than the devil. And if that thing's going to test your loyalty, I pray I would withstand. And I pray that I could easily say, yeah, I'll survive. Right. But when you take everything you love and you have nothing left, and you see him pleading with God in a way, speaking to him, but still trusting him. I think that's what happened in the Bible. Never blames or curses God.
Right.
That's such a beautiful thing. And I said, I want to make a movie about that.
Yeah, and now that you say that, it's exactly the message I get from it as well. Seems like you've lived a little bit of that. Tell us about when you were younger, 13. What took place where you had to go to God and things were collapsing all around you, right?
Yeah, that gave me chills. I probably would cry if I didn't keep it together because you connected those dots so beautifully. At 13, I was hazed into a gang, and in a way, that's in a way of suffering. And I remember, you got pictures of gangsters and all this, like tattoos. But let's take it to an innocent kid. Me at 13. I'm 33 now. But at 13, I was just going to the liquor store. My mother was a nurse. She was always working 2 jobs. And my father was deployed in the Navy. So I was always alone. And I didn't have any like brothers and sisters growing up. So, I was always trying to find friends. That time of me going to the grocery store, I had my best friend's brothers, Mexican, crew pulled up in their nice cars, and they immediately saw me, and I had my PE shirt out at the time, and it said Soriano. So they might have thought I was probably, one of them, so like, oh, Soriano, come on over. And I was like, oh man, I'm being accepted. These guys are in their 30s. They're choosing me to hang out in these cars. Like, this is exciting. They said, there were 3 cars, and they said, come on over, let's kick it. I said, oh man, I got friends. So I remember jumping in the car, and I was like, there was not even any room in the car. I sat on somebody's lap, and and I'm like, where we going? And they're like, we're going to kick it, man. It's going to be good. So we go to the park, and then immediately, when we get out of the cars, they start sliding on their baseball gloves, and I'm like, what's going on here? They start forming a circle around me, and I'm like, all right. And immediately they say, if you want to kick it with a Soriano, you got to fight this guy. And I'm like, oh man, I remember immediately praying. That's what I did. Like something in my sense told me pray or talk to God and from there, the pray became begging, like, God, please get me out of this. God, please get me out. And I responded though. I had like out of body, but still in the moment. I said, oh no, I don't want to fight this guy. And then they're like, no, if you don't fight this guy, we're going to jump you. And then I was like, oh shoot, I guess I have to fight this guy. And I remember, just like closing up my fist, seeing this tall Mexican gentleman, and I'm just there. And then like looking at him, and immediately someone kicked me in the feet, and they all just started, just punching me. And it felt like a thunderstorm. I till this day, it did not hurt. I didn't feel it. It was like, I guess, the adrenaline in my body. And I was surprised. But when they were beating me up, I was acting like it was hurting because, I was like, I want them to stop, like I was exaggerating everything, but they were really kicking me and everything. And so at the end of it, they stopped and they said, welcome to the family. And from there, I was like, man, this is not my family, And I remember seeing a shooting star go over, and I was like, okay, make a wish or something. I was like, God, please get me out of this. I will do anything. Just get me out of this, please. And I was bloodied, bruised. I'm saying it very calm now, but I still get a little shaky. But they left me on my doorstep, and I was bloodied. And that's when my mother saw me when she came home late, like a midnight. She worked the night shift, 3 to midnight. And then she said, tell me what happened. And, they told me, if you tell anybody this, we'll kill you and your family. And so I didn't tell my mother what happened. And she's like, you don't have to tell me what happened, but I'm going to homeschool you. I'm not going to let you go out there until you tell me what happened. And I never told her, and I was homeschooled. So sorry, a long story to this.
That's
but,
great.
Yeah.
It's good people understand some of your background.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the principle in filmmaking. See, film, for you to make a film, you got to deal with deep spiritual matters.
Right.
Even people don't want to admit that. But there is a connection, a very strong connection between the outcome of the film, the hero, the villains, and why people do things. And if we can touch into those sensors, just touch those buttons, that's what makes film really great for people. And I think at the end of the day, that's a story. And hopefully that story can change people's life. And the problem that we're having now is movies are so shallow, just to fill in space. It's like economics, right?
Right.
And so there are people saying, can we go back to do a more classical,
the ebb and flow.
deeper stories? And I think what you are doing is going on those lines, and we encourage you to continue to do those stories.
Thank you. Yes. we got to pull from a place that hurts, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that's where it comes from. Sometimes it comes from, just a great appreciation for things of God and the grace of God, and that you want to continue to do that too. But certainly.
I think, Jim, I think that part of the, when you do a good work, somebody going to recognize, and that's where we're going next for distribution, for example, or how you attract investors. How only you who write your own script, you understand how important that script would be or that story, and you are the visionaries now. How to attract, or how have you attract your financial, to put it together, and hopefully to get a good product that would be distributed.
Right.
Yeah, and I know it's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Right. All these points. And what I do is I share my vision, with investors. I share with them the screenplay. And from there, I'm just as transparent as possible to see if our visions align. And, there will be many no's before I get a yes. And but at the end of the day, when you find the right people, it's a collection of people, and I never just fundraise for one film from one person. It usually is it's a family, it's people, so yeah.
That's awesome. From my understanding, you have some famous boxer involved in the first one.
Oh, yes. His name is Manny Pacquiao,
Did you know famous.
Him? Yeah, did you know him personally before this project, or did you meet him along the way?
Oh, I did not know him beforehand. I was always I appreciated his work, especially him being a strong Christian, and fighting. I always thought that was cool. Every time he won, he was smiling, or he was praying in the ring. That's what we need to do more of, right? And so when I finished this boxing film, I had no connections. Me and Hillary were just talking about who are we going to share this with? We have no. Nobody's going to know my name in Hollywood, But then I saw Manny Pacquiao, and I said, they're going to know his name. And I said, maybe if we can have him as our executive producer, that may give us exposure. So I just reached out on Instagram. I direct messaged him. But I said something in the subject line like Manny Pacquiao to raise awareness of hate crimes through this boxing film. One sentence to just grab the attention, and then my explanation in 3 or 4 sentences. And I shared with him, at the time, I shared just some photos. I didn't have the clip ready yet, or funnily. And then from there, they responded, and I was like, wow, this is insane. They want more information. And then from there, I spoke to his team and his advisors, and they wanted to see clips, and I showed it. And in the end, they were like, yeah, we're proud to get behind you because we believe in the same thing. And so I always tell filmmakers, if you want to work with someone, just shoot them a DM. You never know what'll happen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Never limit yourself. I just go and put the message out there, contact people. You never know. You never know.
Exactly. And from there, I didn't know we were getting no exposure. But when Manny, supported us, we were like on CNN, ABC, LA News, like just, and it was all organic. So I was like, wow, this is, yeah.
So you developed negotiating skills somewhere along the way in your life.
Right. Yeah, maybe, maybe it's from my journalism career, because I used to be a journalist when I graduated college, and I learned how to write press releases. I learned how to, because that's what we'd have to do as journalists. So that's probably where it came from.
Chris, it's very interesting to hear all these details of your project and the success, but there's a big question here that our audience really want to ask you. I'm sure that is about finances. So you have a name like Manny Pacquiao, attached, and everybody that hears that name in the fighting world will know, how did you get to this big guy like that, such a star international fighter that is so well known? What made it possible, and how the finances about all of this come together?
Yes. When it comes to Manny and working with Manny, that really helped us with credibility, because our first film being executive produced by Manny Pacquiao shares with any investor or any future sponsor or anyone who wants to donate or collaborate with us that, okay, we're working with top tier talent, the boxing world champion Manny. And so how I got to Manny is I just DM'd him like I had mentioned, but also with these other sponsors, when I show them, this is what we've done in the past, this is who we've worked with, they want to be a part of our films. They say, how can we work with you? Seafood City, for example, one of the largest Asian supermarkets in America, they, for my second film, The Wedding Hustler, they gave us their store, shut it down for us because they wanted us to put their store in our movie. Other products and sponsors will want that exposure for a feature film because it's forever. When you make a movie, how many people could actually be a part of that movie? And imagine the exposure in the Asian market or in the Philippines, or that they could quantify, and from there compensate or provide you a spot complimentary. All these are either donations, in-kind donations, or monetary donations. And as a filmmaker starting, you need to be resourceful to get as many things you could get for free, or if someone wants to give you $500 to $1,000 to $20,000, there's different tiers on how you can set that type of sponsorship in your film as a good win-win. So there's a way to have an economic model that is a blend of monetary as well as in-kind, like services.
Yeah, because a lot of people go for the traditional way to go to this big investor, so their movie never get made, because in their minds, they only need, how the structure traditionally have worked.
Right.
But we see example again and again that they're still open to new models, and what you had done is one of those that indies would be very, very interested in. Maybe it will give energy a lot of those kids out there.
Thank you.
To go after,
And if I may add to that, like one of the biggest casinos, Pachanga, for our second film, we partnered with them because I said, in this story, The Wedding Hustler, it's about a groom who learns how to put on a wedding to surprise his fiancée. And he is finding a way, and he loses on everything. But then, he goes to the casino with his best friend, and his best friend wins a lucky slot machine that gives him a little bit of money to be able to infuse in his wedding. So when I presented that to Pachanga, they loved it. And they were like, you can, I had to get approval from the gaming commission to, all these things. That value alone is like $250,000, exactly. They were telling me. And so, we partnered with them, and they've been such a great partner till this day.
Oh, great. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's always a way. Where there is no way.
Right. Thank you.
So distribution, I think that question, natural question will be distribution. What is your plan for the movies that you're doing? How are you going to get it out there?
Yes, right now our current plan is foreign distribution, working with, because there's so many people contacting the mega, the Netflixes of the world here, and, from sales agents, them negotiating. I just felt like the foreign market, especially with us dealing with the Philippines, when we finished Zeus, the largest distributor in the Philippines reached out to us, ABS-CBN. They contacted us. And I remember me and my wife celebrating, like, we're going to make it, because we're like, how are we ever going to make this film work? And when ABS-CBN reached out, that gave us hope. And from there, all the other foreign territories, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, we started developing relationships with. So even at AFM this year, we're going to rekindle those relationships for these upcoming films that we have. So those licensing fees go anywhere when you do foreign distribution from $5,000 to like $300,000. And so with over 40 territories, I tell filmmakers, if you're going to make a movie and you need funding and financing, attach a notable name, go to the foreign territories and start licensing your film. Even if you get 40 territories that give you $5,000 each, that's $200,000 and you can make the movie.
Tell us how you developed that and how you got the contacts and those things.
Absolutely. I went on the American Film Market website, and then I saw, because every year they all meet these different film markets, even at Cannes or wherever there's a film market. And there's no real big secret. Their companies are listed there. And from there, there's emails. And they're used to being pitched the traditional route where there's a sales agent, and the sales agent goes to them and tells them what they've got. But if you could come up with a crafty subject line, like, Philippine world boxing champion Manny Pacquiao, an upcoming film in their in the subject, and then you talk about your film, they'll look at it. But if your subject line is more like, a movie you should distribute, they're gonna be like, I've heard that a million times. So what I do is I come up with a list of all those companies, and then I email them, me and my wife and my business partner Luis, we contact and we reach out and we share the trailer, we share what we're doing, and we say, would you like to license it? Just point blank. And then some will reciprocate interest. Others will even refer you to others. Very rarely they'll say, where's your sales agent? They want a deal. And if they see a good deal, they see dollar signs, they'll try to barter.
Yeah.
So when you set up deals, is there a percentage that you offer everyone, or is it depending on the film? Or
it's depending on each country and territory. And so I like to keep it open-ended and have them propose me numbers first, and then we could go back and forth. But I show the value of what we built in the names that are attached.
Yeah. And the territory have values. So it depends how the population, how big the country. So that's how they break down the territories, and they have a value attached to it. So this is a very safe way for you to project some of your, distribution money. And you lock down a negative pickup, for example, and for those who maybe you can tell a little bit more about negative pickup, but those are set up and models that can be worked on, and a lot of indies use it.
Right. The negative pickup is such a great thing because they will pick it up, they take it over from here, and you don't have to worry about it, and they'd pay you that amount. We haven't gotten to that point, but working with these territories, licensing it to them for 7 to 10 years is what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your next film. What are you going to be working on, and what the film you're working on right now?
Yes, the next one we're doing is called The Master Chief. It's about the Filipino mafia in the Navy. And so, that's a story. My father was in the Navy for 20 years, and they would always joke to Filipinos on the ship, like, hey, it's the Filipino mafia. And just because we were so organized as a community, if you're a Filipino leaving the Philippines to join America and be a part of our Navy, the Filipinos that are there, they'll already give you the hand. They'll teach you already how to rise in rank. And I saw that as a beautiful, like Goodfellas meets The Godfather. And, I want to boost recruitment in the military. I want to help, with this, because my father, I was born here in America because of my dad joined the Navy. So I wanted to make a beautiful story called The Master Chief about a sailor who experiences these hate crimes or bullying, but he bands together with his fellow Filipino brothers, and they have an organized system of power to rise in rank in the Navy and become the Master Chief. So that's what that story's about.
to be organized and then to be thought of as evil is just amazing, isn't it? How people's minds go, right?
Right. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're organized, you're part of the mafia. So it's a joke, actually. And so I want to spin that joke in a positive way.
Yeah. It seems like a niche is where it's really working for you.
Oh, yes.
You know, being so dedicated to your country that your ancestors are from. And I think that's important too, to have a niche with your filmmaking, right?
That's correct, because it's unique. Not everybody have the ability to do what you just did for your community. I think that's a good way to go, very smart way to go.
So we just have to convince him to move up to the Film Hub here. And
Vista is a playground for filmmakers, so you're very welcome.
They'll sign me up, because I see everything you're doing here, and thank you for what you're doing for filmmakers like myself, because this studio, everything that you've built here, it's overwhelming. I haven't seen anything out in the San Diego area, the National City area, so I said, please build one out there, but if this is the only one, we'll drive up here then. We'll find a way.
Anything else you wanted to mention?
Well, I just only hope is that he continue, Mr. Soriano continue to do his work with passion, with love, with faith in what you do, and faith in God that protect you in everything that you do and protect your thoughts and intentions. And because it's not an easy field.
Yes.
Sometimes people think, I'm going to make a movie and everything, but it's more than just making the movie. The technicality is one thing.
Right.
The other, the deeper thing is the soul of that film. What is the purpose? What is going to change? Who's going to confront? And you see, that's what makes it hard to make a movie in a way that you're going to touch somebody's life. I think it's a deep it's like traveling deep within you and find those things, And I hope you continue to do it. You have done it, and you are doing it.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Can't wait to see your film.
Amen. I appreciate that. That was the closest thing to a prayer live on this podcast. Thank you. I appreciate that blessing. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, anything else you wanted to share with the audience here?
Just
about
very
young
grateful.
filmmakers. I mean, obviously, a young filmmaker yourself is an inspiration for the others.
Thank you.
Anything you want to share with them?
And just surrounding yourself with great people like everyone here at the Film Hub. And, I have nothing else to say, but I'm just very grateful. I guess if there's a parting words of advice for any filmmaker, I guess, his value is learn to be resourceful. We did everything with what we had. If I were to go back to the pandemic in the middle of it at stay-at-home lockdown orders and say, let's not make a movie, then, I wouldn't be here today. So I took a risk and I spoke to people that were in my vicinity and we made something work. So I encourage any other filmmaker to do the same. And you'd be surprised what you could accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When everyone else is cowering in fear and disillusioned about life, and especially in the last few years, you stood up and said, let's make a movie. And then I understand nobody even got COVID.
Yeah, nobody.
In the midst of a pandemic, making a film, a gutsy thing to do, but no one got sick.
Yes.
So there's a great covering over that believing. And so, good for you. Thanks for coming up. If you want to know more about Chris, you can go to his website, and that's at, Matthew2514.com. You can check him out on Instagram at Chris Soriano. That's Soriano. For more information on the Film Hub, you can go to Instagram at the Film Hub Inc. and visit our website, thefilmhubinc.com. Till next time, see you at Industry Insights.
The Film Hub. Inspire the creative. Ignite the world.